Okay, I think this 1 year has been really a kind of a roller coaster ride for most of the platforms. And given the fact that we are entering in a post-pandemic era, it's always good to actually relook at what exactly happened during the pandemic time, pick up the learnings, and at the same time use that effectively in the post-pandemic period. So what we will do is we'll go through 3 sections of in this panel. One will be, we start with the pandemic learnings, how the distribution actually lived up to the expectations of the Indian consumers in a big way. Second, use those learnings to look at what is happening in the competitive side, specifically with free-to-air and OTT playing a significant role in eating into the pie of distribution, the traditional distribution. And then we'll come back to in the third section, look at the new technologies that are emerging out, which is going to compete with some of these traditional platforms in a big way. So let me start with Nagesh and Yatin and Rose to give a perspective of what exactly happened during this pandemic period time. Because while most of the sectors across industries we're seeing a dip in revenue, this is one sector, which is the traditional MSO distribution sector, which continued to reap the benefits with maintaining revenues, as well as in terms of growth, registering some bit of growth in certain pockets. Actually. So what happened, or what did you do so magical, the fact that you continue to sustain the business effectively? Nagesh, you want to take it first?
Shall I take it?
Yep, go ahead.
Actually, during the COVID-1 first wave, so there was total lockdown in all the cities, and people started migrating from big metros to the smaller cities. And since it was total lockdown, I think cable TV and OTT were the only entertainment which was there for the subscribers and for the people. And they were glued or touched, they were continuously watching and consuming more of content and data. And touch wood, you can say, or by God's grace, we could keep our team motivated. We gave them all the safety kits and all, and we could still provide them the services to the consumers and to the subscribers. And we could see that the revenues didn't dip. Instead, in some smaller places, because of more of migration from bigger cities, smaller cities gained little bit of revenue. But in big cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, the lockdown was too strict for even our lineman or a technical guy to go and give services. The societies were so strict that we could not even enter their societies and give, if any problem was there, then only the issue was there. If the problems were not there or no issues, then the collection was coming. We designed an app where people could give more of online payments. Personal touch was reduced, and I think very few sectors were there where the revenues were intact during this pandemic.
Interesting. So actually, you brought in technology like apps, etc., to make and create payment gateways for consumers. But at the end of the day, Yatin, these are all new subscribers that actually that you managed to get, and therefore the revenue grew, or is it the fact that there were additional connections that actually happened that resulted in this particular growth?
So I think, LV, what happened was there was a mix of both. There were a large number of subscribers who were on lower packages, who also upgraded because they were at home. The kids were at home, the earning members were at home during the lockdown, and they needed content of a variety. Therefore, they upgraded their packs, upgraded their subscriptions to get additional channels, because of which there was an increase in the revenues. That was one of the factors. The second factor was, of course, that there were consumers, like Nagesh Bhai just said, that there were consumers who were migrating from one place to another. For an organization like ours, which has got a widespread, in some places we actually lost some subscribers because they migrated to their home, to their homes, and in some other places we gained. So, but in effect, what also happened was a large number of subscribers who had disconnected or were not on cable they actually came and bought cable services because they wanted to be on top of things as far as news information was concerned. The other part also was, like Nagesh bhai mentioned, that the infrastructure was built and people were given safety kits and all. The governments, respective state governments and the central government also declaring the sector itself as an essential service sector, ensured that we could provide service to our consumers as well as on the ground wherever possible. So whether it was the cable sector or the broadband sector, both of them, we were able to provide services seamlessly because we were declared essential service.
Interesting. Rose, you have a multi-state operation being spanned. How did you ensure the fact that the coordination happened across all the sectors, all the markets effectively, so that whether you're in Maharashtra or whether in Himachal Pradesh, you could actually ensure the same service being provided to the customer?
So, am I audible?
Yep, very much.
Good. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Nagesh bhai, Yatin, Rajiv. Long after, actually, I'm saying LV. Nice to see you, LV. And just a quick rewind on this pandemic, how it started off. So initially, pandemic, when it started off and when the lockdown was announced, it was like a black swan situation, LV. For us, we had never faced such a situation, and it was like for the first time, we all were facing something called lockdown. So initially, there was a major spike in numbers. All our numbers went up very high initially, okay? And then lockdown was announced, and then schools were shut down, offices shut down. All of a sudden, we saw a huge requirement of broadband. Thereafter, the numbers still were growing up. So we saw a spike in numbers, spike in revenues. We saw a fabulous growth of numbers to start with. Thereafter, what happened? With the severity of the lockdown, we saw a lot of people losing jobs, salary cuts, and then economy taking a complete downturn, and then with no fresh content. Then subscribers, when they found there is more new fresh content if you have a broadband at home, people started moving into streaming videos, okay? So it was for us, we were just trying to cope up with the new situation. So we started massive levels of, because there was a challenge of LMOs not able to collect their monthly subscriptions. So we got into a major, transformation of our LMOs into digital. And we being 100% digital company, a prepaid company, our operators, for them, it was easy for them to go prepaid. And they would use our prepaid date as their prepaid dates for their consumers. And so we did a lot of workshops for our LMOs, and most of them today, I can say like 6-7 months back when we did a survey, almost 80-85% of my operators were already in digital collection payments. Everything is through digital. A very few of the subscribers, and some of these subscribers being senior citizens, they're still not capable of doing digital. So hence there is some part of collection still going on manually. For us, what we did was that all across, we being a pan-India company, and since we are there on the satellite front, for us it was very easy to come up with region-wise packs. We came up with Chota packs. We came up with packs meant for with the financially, in case if somebody had a problem, we came up with small packs. We gave them some credit periods for the subscribers. So it was a complete transformation time during this pandemic time, where we transformed our operators to digital. And then gradually we started offering new products, something called, we developed a product called Lifetime Free product. And we also, today we are completely a digitally transformed company. We not only provide cable TV today, we also provide broadband, we provide OTT services, and we are into planning to launch a few more digital products. So for us, it had been a major transformation, and it's like a moment of truth for us that we are moving to a digital company.
Wow. Rajiv, two things came out of the discussion with Yatin, Rose, and Nagesh. That A is that the content which was coming out was largely the old content that was getting played back again to customers. And second, on the linear channels. And the second is that there may be a cash management issue because of the fact that physically people are not going into the home. They are moving, the distributors are also going into creating apps. Now, these were two issues that could have compounded into a bigger level for a organization like IndiaCast, which is managing around 60 odd channels of one particular broadcaster. So how did you think about overcoming this at the time of when the lockdown suddenly happened and the channels came back and say, listen, Rajiv, no more new content. It's all going to be old content going to play out. Now help us manage the cash flow from the ground so that we run the subscription revenues as the way it was planned at the beginning of the year.
At the onset, let me thank you and thank the entire Indian television team for having me here. Very good evening to Ruz, Yatin, Nagesh. Hand on heart, LV, I'll give a different perspective. People confined to their homes, unable to go out, what do they want? They only want to watch some kind of entertainment. We should be fortunate that as an industry, we are part of an industry of entertainment, but that's the first and foremost thing that people want beyond work. Yeah, food, shelter, clothing, I understand these segments, but obviously entertainment is something which is what people want to have. You can't go out and have a food at a restaurant. You can't go out and watch theaters. What do you want? You have this screen in front of you to watch. So people watch television. We went into deep dive into what kind of content was being watched. As the first wave started, news showed huge spikes in terms of TSV. The time spent per viewer on news went really high. Then the problem of the original content not being available because obviously shooting was not being able to be conducted at the studios. So we had to play dated content and brought back mythology and stuff to ensure that the ball keeps rolling. And we had decent viewership even on those parameters also. Having said that, your question specific to cash flows, obviously at that point in time, the collections took a hit. And we as IndiaCast, we realized that it is not the time that we can go and tell, give me the money or I'm going to switch off your signals. That's not the way to do business because it's unprecedented times. And during these times, we ensured that we are there with our partners and gave them the leeway to take time and move forward. So we gave them the time so that cash flow does not become a big issue in terms of running their business also. And since original content was not being carried out at our end also, the pressures on cash flow was not that high as well. So obviously it was slightly easier to manage had it been the other way around.
So that leads to another question, actually, because you also, Ajib, on one hand, you're dealing with the linear channels, and the other hand, you're dealing with the OTT platform like Woot at the same time. So there was a pressure because, as Bruce rightly said, people were working from home, therefore broadband connections actually increased. And same thing is getting reflected even in the reports, the quarterly reports of Athens GTPL, that broadband subscribers actually increased. And therefore access to OTT content dramatically started going up. Now, on one hand, you had Woot delivering content which are being discovered by consumers in a delightful way. And on the other hand, you had the linear channels compounding to the problem of retelecasting the same program back to back. So was there pressure from these MSOs back to you saying that, listen, Rajiv, the favor of the audience, or the flavor of the audience is towards OTT, and therefore somewhere we need to now look at seeing how do you bring some of the OTT content onto your platform so that linear content also gets fresh content, and therefore audience are hooked on to linear channels in a sequential way.
I'll tell you, LV, you've been in this business for so long. The shows that are telecast on your linear channels go on for good 50 weeks, 52 weeks, if not more. Now, suddenly you can't have a 6-hour content replacing a 52-week content. So that's something that was a practical difficulty that we anyway had to. And the platforms were aware of the fact that the new content is not being able to being dished out by us because of obvious lockdown reasons. So I don't think that was a possibility that we could have even looked at, because there are storylines in the content which is going on. Launching fresh content with just 12 episodes, which is 6 hours of content, will not suffice. It will not go beyond 2 weeks only. So I don't think that is something we could have even thought of doing. Rather, we would have waited and got the fresh content back on our platforms and then showed it.
Interesting. Okay, coming back to Nagesh and Rose and Yatin, is that during this time, you yourself saw the advent of OTT taking shape in a stronger way, and therefore somewhere down the road, consumers were looking at that as an option to move away from the linear channels, specifically when the content was getting repeated once again in action. So how did you manage to ensure the fact that your subscription fees did not suffer during this period from subscribers, and continuity of these subscribers was there, so that when you came out of the pandemic sooner or later, you had good numbers to still report to? Nagesh, you want to start?
Actually, when the competition or challenges from OTT were there wherever the ARPUs were very high, because broadband was a necessary, or internet was necessary for them to watch the OTT platforms. And we had one more challenge of free to air also in rural places and taluka and district places. But what we did, we tried to create maximum local content. So we gave around 40 to 50 channels of NVOD, video on demand. And we also made around four channels for each language, regional language also. So that video on demand was a new content for the consumers and subscribers. And also we designed some combo offers to our broadband company, Big Ventures, where we could give them broadband and broadband and cable together. And also we have local news in each and every city of ours. So in bigger cities we have national news, but for local or district level cities, there's local channels, local live content, and NVODs. And also we tried to give maximum content. Like if anyone was taking a package of 250 rupees, we took some help from the broadcasters that during this time allow us to show some more of content in the same cost, which they helped us. And that was, we could retain our customers by giving more content in the same price. Like some people who had not gone for English channels or sports channel, we were giving them in that smaller pack also some sports and some English channels, so that they can see more of channels or more something new content. And this was the only way we could retain our customers from OTT.
Yatin, Rose, you want to add anything to this?
So the initial days, what we saw the migration of subscribers from the linear TV to the free dish or to the free OTT apps. That has now plateaued. This has now plateaued. Now we don't see much of migration happening. Whatever initial, the NTO 1.0 brought in some migration, then the COVID 1.0, COVID 2.0. Now it is almost plateaued. That migration is not happening much. Now what we are trying to do is, in the same pipe, we are trying to provide all these services through one pipe. The video services, the broadband services, and the OTT services are all going through one pipe. So we are trying to retain our subscribers now by giving them a combo pack. The migration is almost now plateaued. The issue is now what be the new challenge in case if it happens is, in case of NTO 2.0, if we are regulated and if OTTs and broadcasters, in case if they are not regulated on the OTT platforms coming up with linear channels. In that case, that will be a new challenge. If there is a price disparity in between the platforms, that is one challenge which I see. Otherwise, now we are almost there in the race, providing with a much better product today for the consumers.
I agree with Roos. Most of what was supposed to happen in terms of migration to OTT, I think it's never been a complete migration for a customer. Some of the customers, very few, would have completely cut off from television viewing and migrated completely to OTT. The rest of them have kept some form of cable TV subscription active to be in, to be in touch with news, information, and some basic entertainment, sports, because that's the same content. And while we are talking about OTT, like Nagesh Bhai mentioned, the most important factor is availability of broadband. Today also, if we're talking about a broadband penetration in India, and the previous session, Mr. Sanjeti also mentioned that out of the total 300 million homes in India, today the estimated broadband penetration, according to TRI figures itself, is around 26-27 million in terms of broadband, wired broadband. Wireless, while it is a very large number, but it will not give the consumer the experience to be able to watch OTT content for a very long time, because there are limited data packs or the connectivity itself is an issue. So we're talking about 25 to 30 million broadband homes who are able to watch OTT subscriptions seamlessly. And the scope is the rest of the 270 million homes in India. It's a huge scope. What we've also seen now, because of the various pricing that has happened, in changes in pricing that are being done by some of the OTT players, there is already a reduction in the subscription that is going there. So, for example, if a Hotstar went from the earlier plans of $399 to $499 and $899, a lot of people have actually stopped subscribing to that kind of service. Similarly, Amazon Prime has revised prices. Some of the other players have brought down the prices. Woot, for example, is coming at $299 per annum right now. So it's a mix. There are some people who are experimenting, and there are various reports, whether it is Statista or there are other organizations. They are quoting anything between 25-30 million to 60 million users on the various OTT applications across India. Which is still, when you're talking about a user, it is an individual user. It may not be the household itself.
Exactly.
So there is enough opportunity for everybody to grow, I guess. And we don't see very much of a movement. But
over here, I think one of the things that we're seeing is that other platforms like distribution platforms like DTH, Airtel, or Tata Sky have gone about aggregating these apps into their own system and providing a choice between linear television and an app-based viewing action. So is that a route to stem the subscription loss that these platforms may be having? Is this a route that MSOs are also looking at as a next step to galvanize and say, hey, here is it as a customer, this is what you want. So why do you want to go to somebody else directly? I'm providing it to you on my own platform.
I think that will happen. We are also working on platforms. Bruce has already told you that they have a platform already. I think all the large platforms who are able to invest in the technology will be going that way sooner or later. So there are various plans that people will put together. on our front, we're coming up with a hybrid set-top box, which will have the option of both linear television as well as OTT content on one set-top box, which basically takes care of the consumer's entire interest of entertainment, news, or anything else that he wants to watch on his television itself, without the additional spending on upgrading his television. So at a nominal upgrade cost, if it's a 2,000, 3,000 rupees that he needs to spend on a hybrid set-top box, he is able to upgrade to a smart TV experience and view all the content in the world. So that's one part which obviously everybody is looking at. The other part on the application aggregation like a Tata Sky has done or some other DTH players have done, I think that is also going to happen sooner or later. We are already working on it. So shortly we will, we are looking at launching something which is an advanced form, let's say. Not disclose too much right now because it's still work in progress. But yes, it's going to be a segment. And I think what is more important is for the consumer, giving them that option that instead of going to 10 different OTT platforms and subscribing to each OTT service separately, here is a bundle, a small bundle or a large bundle, where you can get all the OTT applications plus the cable services all put together. And broadband bundling obviously will also come in wherever feasible. So a 3-in-1 product of broadband, cable, as well as OTT services is bound to take shape.
Interesting. And that's exactly what I think Rajiv's company is already doing. So because they have a fiber through Geo, they have an OTT content through OOT, and of course the linear channels actually. But the key element over here, Rajiv, coming based on what Yatin just said, is that the content is what is bringing audiences in, and now you have contents, same content or similar content spanning across OTT, linear pay, and the new one, which today morning the Prasad Bharati CEO was talking about, the free-to-air platform, which is galvanizing at the lower end of the population base, the homes that are switching to the FTA platform to watch content. Now, therefore, you're straddling 3 different pockets: upper, middle, and lower income action. And because of which, there are some pressure points that are getting created, as I see it in the industry, on platforms that have been trying to traditionally support organizations like IndiaCast or broadcasters like Viacom in sustaining their businesses over a period of time. So how do you see this spanning in the next couple of years when all these 3 are going to coexist, and each one is trying to pull on you to take a call on what should go on each of these platforms separately?
Interesting. Now, LV, content today's date can be viewed anywhere, be it a free-to-air, be it a linear, be it an OTT, and we are forgetting today the rage is short format videos as well. Okay, we are still not getting into the short format videos. We are now discussing this stage. Now, the overall market in India right now, total 300 million households are there, and as per BARC, there are 210 million TV owning households. Out of the 210 million TV owning households, the pay linear business is around 120 million. And over the last 2 to 3 years, what we have seen is that the DD free dish, which is the free-to-air business, has gone up to 40 to 45 million subscribers. So it's a huge chunk of subscribers which you cannot ignore. And OTT has no limits, basically. I mean, the latest MPA report says that India has 102 million SVOD subscribers, which is huge, and free plus pay put together is what I read. I think in the Ormax Media report or in that is at 353 million, which is 25% of the country is on free and pay OTT. So the numbers are huge. Now, as broadcasters, as content providers, we have to cater to all 3. Now let's start with the lowest of the pyramid, which is the DD free dish. So DD free dish is available to subscribers free of cost. It's only a one-time cost that they incurred of getting the box. Now, as broadcasters, we are providing them dated content. We are not providing any current content because obviously every content that we make will first obviously go to where I can monetize the content most. What is happening with DD free is the content that we are providing to DD free is basically like a sampling. The subscribers are such who are unable to afford a pay TV model. They are sampling the product, and they are sampling dated product. Post that, they come on to linear, or they may even go to OTT. So for the regular linear business, we have a certain kind of content which is being dished out. Now, OTT audience is slightly different. They are not looking at 52 weeks, 6 days a week shows. They are looking at 12 episodes, 6 episodes, 15 episodes kind of show. So for that, obviously, Voot is catering to that segment. So we need to have segmented content for each of these segments, and all these three segments will coexist. We cannot wish away any of the three. It's not that because OTT is so large, linear pay TV is going to go out. Not at all. If today we are seeing a bit pressure on linear pay TV numbers, is because the informal sector is going through a rough time in India. And because the informal sector is going through a rough time in India, there are economic hazards that people are going through, and they're not subscribing to linear pay TV, which obviously will come back once the pandemic situation gets over. As far as free to air concerned, is because there is that segment where people want to watch free to air, and OTT, obviously, I said sky is the limit. Now everything is happening on OTT. All kinds of content is available, and you need to be prepared and give the right content so that you can attract consumers to your.
Yeah, but interestingly, this free-to-air part of it has grown on the earlier pay universe, because the television universe hasn't expanded that dramatically by 40 million to bring in a sudden surge of FTA platform, right? So obviously it has eaten into the earlier pay users to move to a free-to-air platform. So that's where I want to bring in again Yatin and Rose and Nagesh. How do you react to this, to this three-step strategy that group like Indiacast is actually pushing along? And is this, you think, is from your perspective, your business perspective, helping the growth of the overall industry? Or is it that it's actually penetrating into your segment and therefore it may become a challenging issue in the coming years?
So if you ask me, LV, we definitely don't see this as a challenge, the growth of OTT. As I said, we have already, all my LMOs can start offering on their portal. It's already available. They can start offering the OTT packs. And it's a good solution, as we have packed the entire top 10 of the OTT platforms or services. We have packed them into as a one bouquet and offering them. So we don't see this as a challenge. OTT, definitely, whatever consumer needs, we need to provide it to them. That's what we are working upon.
What about FTA?
Free to air, we have a product which is a lifetime free product we have, which our operators are offering into the consumers. In case if anybody wants to watch a one-time paid free product, they can watch the FTA product also throughout their lifetime. They don't have to pay anything more. It's a one-time payment is to be done. And the beauty of this product is, in case if the consumer, once in a while, if he wants to come and watch a particular sports event, or if he wants to come and watch once in a while a GC channel, he can come and pay and watch it and then go back to the FTA back again. He doesn't have to pay anything. So that's one new product which I have launched in. And OTT packs, everything is available. And since it's as I said, the entire bouquet of OTT platforms are there. So that's a very good product for the subscriber. He can watch linear TV, he can watch he can have the high-speed broadband, as well as he can have the OTT packs. The challenge, again, what I'm coming back, LB, is in case if there is no regulation on pricing front, we are already facing a problem of piracy. Okay, there are a lot of service providers, illegally actually providing services of other, platforms. I can see at times, Tata Sky, services on a particular dongle. I can see Airtel on that dongle. I can see various other, Roku, Shoku, everything, Hulu, everything can be provided today. They come up with a software which you can, the subscriber can download the particular software by which you can, the IP starts, seeing the IP of a US or that of a Brazil or any place, and they can start watching the content. So the challenge is, if I'm completely for forbearance. I don't believe in pricing as a strategy and everything. Let there be forbearance, but there has to be a fair play. And what we are lacking today is there is no fair play. So if there is a fair play, absolutely let the pricing be whatever it may be, but that has to be all across the platforms. And we welcome competition. We welcome technology. We should give what the consumer wants. So we don't see FTA as a free dish as a challenge. We don't see OTT as a challenge. We are preparing our LMOs, and our consumers should be able to get whatever they want. We are trying to take the, to the to a one-stop all sort of a digital solution shop.
Yatin, Nagesh, any viewpoints on this?
So what I feel I actually agree with LV that the connections which have gone to free dish are part of the pay channels. If you go to all rural areas, which was around 70% of our base, they were paying what amount to the MSO? They were hardly paying 50 rupees or 100 rupees ARPU earlier. And suddenly with digitization, they came to 150 rupees. But after NTO 2, there was no package of any MSO which was lesser than 200 rupees. So that was the time when we all MSOs watched around 20% of our base of rural went off to free dish. And today also, when there is problem of pandemic, where we are facing problem of unemployment, there is some agriculture problem in smaller rural places, small shops are having problem. We see that our base is getting diverted to free dish. And it is actually a very big challenge, you can say, that because we have LCO in between, LCO has to get some share for the free content which we are giving them. And government has said that we have to collect 150 rupees for 100 or 150 free to air channels. And if someone is getting the same thing for free of cost, how to fight it out? Unless we tell the operators to reduce the margin. If they reduce the margin, they cannot survive. So we are in cash 22 position. We try to reduce MSO's margin. We try to show some channels like Discovery is there or some other important channels which we get at lesser cost, and we put them into an FTA pack and say that let the customer watch this. But it is of very little effect because in last 2-3 years, free dish is still picking up and we are losing base. I think around 1 or 2% it's a monthly thing that we lose base in rural areas. Unless the important channels which broadcasters are giving them, maybe it might be a second channel of theirs or less important channel of theirs. But in other words, I can say that this might be a prospective customer for me if they do good, if they can pay money to me. But at current position, it is a challenge we are facing from free dish. It's a big challenge. At least MSOs who have more of rural areas, they are facing a big challenge. And yes, so as Ruth said, giving all the triple play, I give you a combo offer of broadband, I give you a combo offer of internet and cable TV, all put together. That is there for metros and wherever ARPUs are high. But for rural places, still we are facing a big challenge because of price, uneven prices. Because government, I don't think government is going to make it any pay money for the free. Till then, will be facing the same problem.
But
absolutely,
I am not looking at
Nagesh. I agree with Nagesh Bhai to a large extent. Actually, it's a combination of what Roos and Nagesh Bhai have said. But the first, one of the primary questions that we have been asking here also internally as well as with some of the stakeholders is like Rajiv mentioned that it's free dish is a 40-45 million households today. It's all estimates. Frankly, we don't know. Nobody knows. It's like a balancing figure right now. That Bark has said 210 million. The pay channels are getting paid for 120. Therefore, it might be 90 million. TRAI has declared that it's 180 million as against 120 million. So, okay, 60 million, 40 million. It's all estimates. We actually don't know because there is no cash that free dish has of actual numbers on the ground with respect to free dish. And I think there is a skew because of the perceived numbers. Bark has put in some additional boxes, or the skew of the barometers in the rural areas on these free dish networks. That's why all the free-to-air channels are running there. That as soon as they go there, they see a spike in their viewership, because of which they are able to gain advertising revenues. Therefore, it makes sense for them. Some of the channels have moved out of traditional TV platforms and gone exclusively to free dish. Right now, going one step backwards, what was the purpose of Prasar Bharati? I don't want to get into the complete details, but purpose of Prasar Bharati was dissemination of information to the public. I don't think the purpose is being met by having private channels at all. whether it is free to air or pay channels. It just doesn't make sense.
That's true.
And at the cost that the broadcasters are paying for getting onto the Free Dish platform. Small examples, I'll not name the channels as such, but if some channel has bought a slot on Free Dish for 8 to 10 crores, they're earning advertising revenues of 200 to 300 crores, where on the flip side, a DD National, which was earning 300 to 400 crores on advertising revenues, has come down to 157 crores, according to one report tabled in the parliament a couple of months back. So I don't understand why Prasar Bharati is gung-ho about Free Dish as such. Going to the other end of the spectrum, OTT. While I agree with Rajiv's point that the consumer should have enough choice, I think it's also the broadcaster's prerogative to understand that ultimately it's the same consumer who is being serviced, whether it is through Free Dish or through cable or traditional platforms or through the OTT platforms. There has to be some amount of segregation, and there has to be some uniqueness of content that is being offered. Otherwise, why would a consumer go to a cable TV platform or a DTH platform to watch the same content in a linear format, which he is able to watch on OTT, the same content without advertising on an OTT platform for a lesser cost? So these are decisions that I think the broadcasters and the OTT players will also need to make. What is it that they want to finally do? Because whatever growth they are going to get from OTT, they will lose some part from the cable MSOs as well as DTH platforms. While all the platforms are working towards offering all these services to the subscribers, ultimately there will be a hit somewhere to give for a gain somewhere else.
I agree with that, Yatin. I think it's all a balancing act that a company like Indiacast is also trying to do, given the repertoire of genres and platforms that they want to operate in with the kind of content. But interestingly, when we look at the future, there are a couple of things happening. And one is the fact that broadband penetration is likely to increase. Okay, although we are estimating wired broadband to be around 27 million to 30 million, I think with the new technologies like Sky broadband or broadband from the sky, or bigger pipes being laid down into the smaller towns, etc., coming through very quickly, cost of accessing content is going to be far more cheaper, although the price for the value of the content may start going up, given the quality of production and the amount of subscription fees that they're presently getting in Asia. So if that happens in the next 2 to 3 years, actually, and at the same time, there are other competitors like connected TV sets slowly making its way. Samsung is already trying it out. LG is already on its way to, in US, they have a specific company monetizing the entire advertising of connected TV on their platform. So there are all these niches that are going to start nibbling into the big, massive cable TV base, actually. Where do you see, therefore, all these three organizations, Metrocast, GTPL, and Next Digital, in the next 3 or 5 years, in trying to battle the competition at the same time, thriving extremely well, growing very well?
Yeah, so let me start with. Okay. So we are very, very optimistic, Kelvi, on this front. More the connected TV homes, better for us. No investments on hybrid box or on Android box, nothing. I will provide him the broadband. I can provide him with the linear also, and I can also offer him the OTT packs. Let him comfortably sit at his home, watch on his connected TV our services. That's point number one. Point number two, currently, yes, we are facing a challenge of taking broadband to various parts, right? So for that also, since we are one of the or only the platform which is available through satellite, we are already on the stage of doing some POCs with some companies on the delivery of broadband through satellite. So very shortly, our POCs will be done through, and we are very hopeful that we would be able to kickstart that particular sector also, giving an opportunity for my last mile owners to provide even broadband through satellite. all what we are expecting is our last mile owners to get up and to prepare that big highway, the fiber to the home. So that once that is done, we are very optimistic. There's a big role to be played. Linear TV is anyways, it's there for all of us to be there. It is not going to die anyway. As we said in the earlier sessions also, there is a humongous scope for linear TV. All what we need to do is all our DPOs need to start gearing up what the consumer wants and look at the changing technology, innovate, and try to be there in the space. That's what we are looking forward.
Nagesh?
Sir, what you said about net through the sky, I think it's still very, very early to speak on those things. But yes, we have to go with the technology. All the MSOs have to go for the high-end technology where we can serve the customers with the combo offer of providing all the three services of broadband, giving and be an aggregator for OTT content, and give all our contents of cable TV. Plus the added NVODs and local what we can give would be the only differentiation. And also the services of LCOs and our team, which make a big difference today when a bigger player come into the role. But it is, you can say, next 3 to 4 years is a challenging phase for all the MSOs. We see very few investors coming into this sector. And also it is a difficult sector, how to invest money into this sector, where we are in catch 22 situation. Should we go on putting more boxes? Because today boxes are seeded free of cost. So once we go to metros, we know we are facing challenge through OTT. If we go to smaller places, we know we have challenge through FTA model. But we are trying to come to some balance. We are coming to some balance, and we still believe. I still believe that cable is still there to stay for 7 to 8 years. And if we get the act properly together, we can still be a major prominent player in the market.
Yatin?
I'll give the cable industry more time than that, Nagesh bhai.
Yeah. More time the better. But me and you should not say, others should say. MSOs will say we have more time.
Absolutely. I think it has a lot more time, considering that, the advanced countries even till date have cable platforms. Yes, they have evolved. They have evolved into content creation rather than just distribution. And I think that will also ultimately have to happen from the content perspective. So there will be a much more scope for people to get into content production. While you were talking about the broadband availability and connected TVs, I think there is more than enough scope. Like I said earlier, 300 million homes and just about 10% of that on wired broadband. That scope of 270 million is too huge. I think
That's
all
true.
new kinds of services or platforms that can come in can very well coexist in that space. Connected TVs, of course, like I said earlier, there's an option for the consumer. Either he upgrades his television from a non-smart TV to a smart TV or a connected TV, or he spends a nominal amount, which Roos doesn't agree to. Roos is saying no, connected TV is fine, but hybrid boxes are obviously an option. Because at a nominal cost, the consumer is able to experience the connected scenario without actually doing anything additional, taking an additional cost on the TV. So both models will obviously coexist. There will be a certain amount of movement. I think the last figure that I read for smart TVs today is around 18 to 20 million in India, which is again 10% of the BARC estimated TV households.
It's true.
Right, 210 million. So there is enough scope for any kind of service to grow. We as a service provider, we will have our focus on providing various kinds of service for the consumer, whether it is broadband, whether it is cable, linear, with additional benefits, plus the OTT space. So we will be there providing all kinds of services, offering all kinds of services to the consumers. Just going back one step and saying that, while we are offering all these services to the consumers, there is a strong correlation between us and the other service providers, including the broadcasters. So in the value chain, the broadcasters, the platforms, and the affiliates, and then the consumers, all of us have to work together to finally fulfill what is it that the consumer wants,
Exactly.
without actually trying to kill each other, which is a normal scenario in our business, that we're trying to kill each other and then get something for ourselves. I think we'll have to coexist, and work together for the common benefit of all the players.
Truly, very well said, Yatin. Rajiv, final question to you on behalf of the rest of them. What are the expectations that you have from Rose, Yatin, and Nagesh?
The expectations, as I think Yatin rightly put out, is that it's not, the existence is not or. Either I will exist or the platform will exist, we both will exist. Now, to ensure that we both exist, I have to provide good quality content. And I need to cater to all kinds of audiences. In a similar way, the platforms will also have to evolve themselves and figure out that if I still need to own the consumer, then what I need to do. Like a classic example today is binge plus linear being offered by a Tata Sky. What is the objective? The objective is to ensure that I need to hold on to the consumer. So to hold on to the consumer, you need to keep your ears and eyes open and figure out what the consumer is wanting. It's not the other way around. 20 years back, whatever we were dishing out, consumers were taking because there was no other way of consuming content. Today, they have multiple ways of consuming content. And if that is the case, then we need to be aware of what he wants and be fleet-footed to change our direction and ensure that we are able to satisfy the consumer. Then we'll all coexist. And India is a 300 million household market. 90 million households still do not have a television. So Nagesh, you will get linear television going because there are 90 million people who will still move on to linear television. So you will have a pie for everybody.
If you let us be there, we'll be there.
We will.
I think we're coming to the end of the time, but I must say the fact that there's been a delightful session hearing all your perspectives on this particular subject. I think as we go forward in terms of understanding consumers and audiences and delighting them with offerings, I think one of the key things obviously will be data actually. So, but we'll reserve that for another session where we can discuss data specifically on how we pull out data and how do we analyze the data and what are the insights that we should actually look for in the data so that offerings can be made even more specific to customers and retain them pretty well in nature. But as of now, we'll end it over here with the statement saying the fact that everything looks rosy as we head into future. The technology is playing a terrific role. Content, Rajiv is saying, will ensure the fact that we'll deliver to enhancing consumer experiences even more stronger. And Rose and Yatin and Nagesh, all of them agree the fact that we'll all coexist beautifully in the new family. So thank you, guys. And thank you, Anil, Namrata, Upasna, everybody else in the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anil and team. Thank you so much, Elvi.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anil and team, to have organized this virtual session. And that's the only way we could have met and had a meaningful discussion, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree, Rajiv. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Right. Thanks. See you.
Thanks.
Well, that was quite a session.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Yatin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elvi. It was lovely. Thanks all of you all. And great. Nagesh bhai, salam alaikum.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.